Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today, we are very fortunate to have our friend Susan Jane, the intuitivist. Now I suddenly can't remember. How do I say that correctly?
Intuitist.
That's right. I get very easily confused with word order and arrangement. We're going to get to that in just 2 seconds. Brief housekeeping. Stop what you're doing, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Always need more volunteer dreamers. Support my work, direct donations, buy a coffee mug, t-shirt, that kind of thing. Also, there are currently 11 books of historical dream literature available on Amazon and through BenjaminTheDreamWizard.com. That's it. Done. Enough of the housekeeping. Try and go through it real quick. And back to the actual guest here. So we've got our friend Susan Jane, and I love this because it was written out for me, so I'm going to tell you guys. She is the Multi-International Business Award winner, most innovative communication professional of the year, The Art of Intuition, and you've got a book called Intuitive Flowers. People can also find you at intuitivenature.com.au, and tell us a little bit more about what you do and who you are.
Oh, wow. I do sound quite posh, don't I?
Right? I'm going to talk you up. I sure am.
You always get a little bit embarrassed.
I know. Now that I've horribly embarrassed you.
Yeah. My name is...
Please.
Sorry, Benjamin. My name's Susan Jane. The Art of Intuition is my business name. It was Intuitive Nature, and I've just done a bit of rebranding. But what I do is I help people connect with their intuition and learn to trust it. One of those sort of areas where we go, we want to make decisions and we don't know which way to go and don't know, what to do and where we're going with it. So we tend to ask other people, and of course they give us their advice. But when we start to really listen to what we're saying or what we're feeling and what's coming from our soul, those intuitive messages that are coming through, we can actually create a life that is a lot more suitable for who we are, what we're doing, where we're going. So I have online courses, I have books, and most of these things are like tools of the trade.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are don't trust their intuition, maybe as much as they could, or don't know how to trust it. It's one of those things where it's like, it seems like maybe it's led me wrong in the past. How was I not using it correctly to get what I'm actually going for? How to identify what you want, and then how to know when those feelings are sending you in the right direction.
Yes.
For sure. That's good stuff. Well, I loved all this, and I looked into it a little bit. I don't usually research guests. I just talk to them, let them tell me who they are and what they do. But I describe my process. It's hard to call it a process because that sounds structured, and in a sense it is. I've got kind of a flow I go through, but 99% of everything I do is intuitive. I just ask. I get a sudden inspiration to ask a question, or a sudden connection is made in my mind. And I love the concept of these things. If you look at, you may be aware of this, the audience may not, but the history lesson of how the Greeks and the early philosophers in that age looked at ideas. I mean, if you think of the concept of the muses inspiring artists, the artists had the concept that these ideas were external to ourselves. They were put there by some external force. And that's honestly what the experience feels like. Even if we know it's being generated by ourselves, by some mechanism we don't understand or can't describe or can't see under a microscope, that's what it feels like. It feels like, where do I get sudden inspiration? People say, liglightning bolt from the heavens. Sure, that's as accurate as anything else. It just happens and we experience it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, the other thing is how we receive those intuitive messages. And one of them is using those images. It's those images and those thoughts that we get and those, understandings. And that's why when we reached out together, it was like, this guy's got it. This is where we need to be. I see the images, I know the images, and you become used to those images when you're really tuning into your intuition. But to get an understanding of what those images and those dreams and those thought patterns are, you are the man.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I hope I'm going to be as awkward with praise as you are. It's I hope I'm being of benefit to people. I think I was saying before that as much as this And I tell everyone, this is not counseling and therapy. I don't offer any licensed service. I don't charge any money for this. But my purpose with every interaction is to be of therapeutic benefit to the person I'm talking to, and hopefully for the benefit of the audience to say, I see what he did there. I see how that connected. And so hopefully the entire catalog of my work will one day be like a masterclass, if I could be a little self-aggrandizing, in how to connect with your own understanding of your own dreams. And then I keep telling people too, you don't need me specifically. It's nice. I like talking to people. I hope people want to keep talking to me, but hopefully you can do this for yourself, and you only need me to kind of show you the path, and you can walk it on your own. That's my goal in general.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Benjamin, it's very, very similar to mine. It's like, connect with yourself. You can do it. You don't need to have everyone else there to do it. You can do it yourself. You just got to start to trust in yourself and start to believe in yourself.
Yeah, and I think part of what I'm doing is also putting on display, as you do in your courses, is the methodology, kind of what it looks like Absolutely. To do this thing. And one day I keep saying this, I hope one day to write a book detailing my method as soon as I understand it. We'll see we'll see when that happens. But
thanks a lot.
Yeah, well, I think we got the general introductions out of the way. I'll repeat all the website stuff at the end of the show, and it'll be in the description below, of course. But I think the audience is here for the dream interpretation. So I'm going to, as per my usual process, just shut up and listen. We're going to get a description of what's happening. We'll see if we can make sense of it together.
Okay. Well, like I said, when we first connected, I didn't have any dreams that I was, that I remembered anyway, that I wanted to bring forward or talk about. So it took me a little while before something came through. And then you messaged me going, is there anything, we're talking about dreams, not goals and ambitions, like real dreams. And I'm thinking it was very synchronistic, because I got your email the morning after I'd had this really strange evening, or night, I should say. Now, I'm saying it's a strange night because it didn't really feel like a dream. So I do a lot of computer work, similar to you, and there's always things going in and out of my head going, okay, I need to do that tomorrow. I'll get that done, get this done there. And I have on my podcast, I have a lot of international guests, and we're always juggling with the time zones. So I had a lot of stuff going on in my head. I'd also worked in the garden 2 days prior to that, and my body was aching, like I was really feeling it. So I wasn't sleeping very well. And what was happening was all these thoughts were going through my mind, and I didn't know whether I was actually asleep or awake. I was tossing and turning, and it felt like I'd been awake. And yet when I looked at the clock, it had been 2 hours or 3 hours. I must have slept in between that. But if I did, it felt like I was thinking. I must have slept thinking. But it just felt like it was constant across the whole night. So it was very, very tossy and turny. I woke up feeling okay in the morning, but I'm just not sure whether it was a dream or whether it was just me. And this has happened before. And I just want to get an understanding of what the hell am I doing and why am I doing that? And what is it telling me? Absolutely.
Well, not to interrupt your flow too much, but I know we mentioned earlier as well that there's this. So there was one book, right, brief tangent, Studies in Dreams. I think the 6th publication I put out there from a century ago, this lady, Mary Arnold Forster, and she talked about what she described as the borderland state between waking and dreaming. And it seems, from what I've gathered and experienced, and well, to some degree experienced, but also researched, the idea that it is those dreaming experiences or busy mind experiences closest to that dividing line between I'm awake and I'm asleep that are most available in our consciousness. Like if we're deep asleep for hours and something happens that in our mind, we may not remember it or be aware of it or have any ability to recollect it. It might be quite literally only the dreams that happen close to awakening at whatever hour of the night that are actually accessible for recall and description in this way. So this is not at all unusual, so to speak. It's not always that people would characterize it that way, consciously describe it as you have. But I think if people pay attention to their dreaming experiences, they're going to see this happens a lot. This is actually kind of the best kind of dream to look at. So my brief tangent aside, we have to actually hear the dream anytime.
Well, the other thing was too, I felt like I was in control of it as well, because what I was dreaming about was just work stuff. So it was like I was actually in control of it all. And I was going, look, if I'm going to be awake, I might as well think about what I need to do. So I need to get the marketing down, and it was all computer stuff, like all work stuff. And it was very, very deliberate, but it just would not turn off. And yet I didn't feel, and yet I must have slept through it.
Or in and out of sleep, so to speak. So interesting, kind of a semi-lucid experience. At least your quasi-aware thoughts were influencing, reciprocally influencing the dream, kind of a back and forth type of thing. That's an interesting state. I don't know what to do with lucid dreaming, or I've had friends tell me literally prophetic dreams. They dreamed a thing, that thing happened within a week. No idea what to do with that. I'm purely on the psychological, scientific side. I don't declare such things impossible from a purely rationalist scientific. I just don't understand it, and I don't have the confidence to say I can tell you what it means or how it works. Purely baffling to me. I accept it. I accept that people say they have those experiences, and I don't know what to do with it. But someday maybe it'll come. Hopefully in the process of doing all this self study, autodidactic learning. So when was this? Did you sleep through a portion of the night, and then you got to a section later where you were in and out of sleep? Was there a chunk of time?
I was in and out of sleep to start with.
Yeah.
Then I had then I must have had a deeper sleep. So I was tossing and turning here. Must have had a deeper sleep, and then I went through the tossing and turning again before I actually woke up.
Okay. Well, what's the first thing you can remember as the beginning of the dream experience? What was the imagery or experience like? Okay,
I wasn't. I guess the thing is, I wasn't really thinking about business or anything. I went to bed quite relaxed, quite chilled. I was in pain. I remembered my arms and that were aching, so I was being mindful of that. And it was almost like that's what was keeping me awake rather than the actual dream, the actual thought patterns or the dreams that was going on. It was more the physical body. If I'd roll, I would wake. And then it was like, oh my God, I just can't stop thinking, or it's just, what's going on? And it was just, I actually don't even remember the full concept of what I was doing. I really don't. It was just work. And I don't remember exactly what it was. And I do digital marketing as well as a paid job. This is my passion job, but I have a paid job, and I do digital marketing, and that was running through too. And I can remember thinking, well, if I'm not sleeping, and I still feel like I was asleep when I was thinking this, and this is where it's a bit weird. If I'm not sleeping, I'm not going to think about work. I'm going to think about stuff I want to think about, like my passion. So I'm going to think about the podcast and intuition and, what I can do there, my social media marketing and it just, that's how it went. And then it was like, it would drift back to work, or I'd roll and there was more pain in my arms or my back from gardening. And then and then I was up again, but it was almost like I'd stir, feel the pain, acknowledge it, and then go back to sleep. But going back to sleep, I was working.
Okay. So if you, and don't worry about perfect recall, because that's impossible. We're gonna get a lot of disconnected images, maybe out of sequence. We'll try and put them in order if we can. But if you remember, if you can, the first time you woke up, was it from some dreaming experience? The first time you rolled over, or the first time you were aware of rolling over?
No, I don't think so. I don't feel it was a dream that woke me up. I feel it was the body that woke me up.
Sure. But and so at that moment there was no awareness of having been dreaming. And then what was on your mind at that moment when you rolled over? Was it focusing on or you just had a thought? I don't want to interrupt it. What do you got?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm just because you're taking me back, and I'm thinking: was I thinking when I went to bed, or did I actually go to sleep? And these were thoughts. These were while I was sleeping.
Sure.
And I have to be honest. I feel like I was asleep, but because I was tossing and turning so much with pain. And I mean, I wasn't in that much pain, but you know how you move and you sort of go,
yeah.
I feel that.
I get restless legs sometimes. I just need to move them. What are you going to do?
Yes.
It's not horrible. It's not an amputated stump. It's just I'm uncomfortable. You roll over. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's what it was. So I was feeling uncomfortable. I'd roll, and that's when I'd go, oh my goodness, I just haven't stopped thinking, and yet I felt I was asleep. It was so strange. It was so strange that you feel like you're working, but I know I wasn't working. I felt like I was asleep, but then I'd roll over and I knew I was awake, and then I would go back to sleep. So how was I feeling? I was getting annoyed. I know that. I was getting annoyed because I just wanted to turn off. I wanted to stop.
Yeah.
I didn't want to dream, didn't want to think about it, certainly didn't want to feel the pain anymore in my body. Yeah. I just wanted to stop, and I was starting to get frustrated.
Okay, so there was a long enough period of time or enough repetitions of feeling you were going in and out of I'm falling asleep, I'm uncomfortable, I'm falling asleep, waking up again, and then so there was a kind of an annoyance, frustration, but thoughts on your mind. But what aspect of work was occurring to you when you woke up, or what thoughts carried over from that across that dividing line between I think I'm almost asleep to shit, I'm uncomfortable and awake again?
Okay, so what would happen was I would just be starting to do some work. I would be on the computer, I would be working, I'd be looking at the screens, just doing my general work, and then I would obviously roll, and I'd wake up and I'd go, oh my God, if I'm going to be thinking about anything, because I didn't know whether I was thinking or dreaming at that stage. If I'm going to be thinking about anything, stop thinking about work. Think about something else. And so I would try to manipulate, and I knew I would going back to sleep because I'd roll and go, okay, I'm going back to sleep. If you're going to think about something that you want to think about. If you're going to toss and turn all night, toss and turn for a positive reason, not work.
So you did have some kind of imagery of imagining yourself at your productive work that you would be doing while awake.
Yes. I could see the screens. I could see decks of cards because I do card readings. I could see my office space without seeing my office space. It was more like seeing my thought patterns as I was working.
Okay.
Ooh, that's weird. Okay.
What do you got? Well, something just occurred to you.
Well, yeah, it was like seeing my thought patterns because I didn't like, you don't see it. I didn't see it physically. This is where I'm working. This is my workspace. It was more this is my thought patterns. This is what you're thinking about at the moment in your workspace.
Yeah, and that might be a phenomenon unique to that, if we call it like Mary Arnold Forster, that borderland state where you're so close and almost dancing back and forth across that line of abstracted, distracted, lack of present awareness, and then kind of coming back suddenly to being aware of yourself, having that experience and realizing it was disturbed. There's an interesting...
That's exactly what it felt like when you say it like that, Benjamin. That's exactly how it felt like. There was times when I thought I was asleep, and then I'd be awake, or I would be thinking, and then I'd roll, and then it was just for probably about 3 hours.
Wow. And then part of that experience also was the annoyance of being disturbed by discomfort, which of course nobody wants to feel pain. Dang it, I just want to get some rest and sleep, it's bedtime. But also there seemed to be a I don't know why the word concomitant comes to mind, but there's a better way of saying that, a mutually present sense of being annoyed that you were thinking about work in your sleep, so to speak, that these thoughts were what was on your mind when you'd like, can I just not, I'm not working right now. Can I turn off work for a minute and just fantasize about something else? Just put my mind in happier, relaxed state. So there's two things that could have been, and this is another thing, I'm all over the place. Talk about my intuitive process. I just go with my abstracted tangents.
I'm loving it.
Well, thank you. Another thing I was reading was in a recent book. I can't remember if it's book 11, 12, or 13. I'm like, just finished book 11, Psychology of Dreams, working on The Philosophy of Sleep by Robert McNish, and another one by Isadora Coriat, the Meaning of Dreams. So I don't remember which book it is. Losing my place. Hold on. Oh, no, I think I almost lost what I was going to say, trying to remember which book it was in. Disturbers, things that disturb our sleep. So a lot of these folks, and it was Isadora Coriat, because a lot of these works in the early 20th century are coming post-Freud. Freud did the massive 1900 release, The Interpretation of Dreams, Traum Tong. I'm going to figure out how to say that one of these days in German. So a lot of the commentary produced by doctors, medical professionals at the time, are saying, and we reference Freud's method here, and here's where we find it valuable, or here's our critique of it. So it's a lot of fascinating, and he really, he turned a corner on that one. I mean, dreams were supernatural or mystical. They were from God or the devil for hundreds of years. And then before that, from the gods or from the god of sleep back in antiquity 2,000 years ago. And Freud was like, turned us a corner, like, you can, okay, so disturbers of sleep, sorry. There was a popular, sorry, I can rant, let me tell you. There was a popular conception that dreaming was disruptive of sleep itself, that only people with something wrong with them, spiritually, mentally, or physically, had dreams, and that was indicative that they needed to maybe go to a doctor. And doctors for centuries, 2,000 years, have been using dreams to diagnose different things. Why did you dream about water? Maybe you've got a hydrothorax in your chest. We need to bleed you to let out whatever excessive fluids is causing you problems in the four humors days. Okay, huge tangent, circling back. The idea that they used to think dreams were disruptors of sleep. So you're mentioning physical disruptions, discomfort disrupts sleep, but also not to completely discount that old idea, but to say that it also has its place. Disturbing dreams, nightmares, or dreaming about things we just don't want to be dreaming about can also contribute to waking us up. We can sometimes be in the middle of an unpleasant experience, and it doesn't have to be a horrifying, I'm being chased by things and can't run away type of dream, which that'll wake you up. A lot of people will be like, oh, I want out of this so bad. It brings you to consciousness. But it can just also be, I don't want to dream about work. This sucks. I'm sleeping. Let me dream about anything else. So all of that, like a 5-minute tangent to get around to the idea that we could have two things going on here, where the physical discomfort and the subject matter were both unpleasant enough to say, I'm not enjoying this rest. I'm going to change not only the position of my body, but try and change the orientation of my mind in sleep. Yeah. And that, so you were saying that was your experience as well. You woke up, became aware of what you were focused on, and said, I don't want to think about that.
Absolutely. And and I felt like I was doing that. And because it felt like I'd been tossing and turning for about an hour, but when I looked at the clock, it was 3 hours, over 3 hours. And I'm thinking, I must have actually slept in between all of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think what surprised me was the way it was sort of what I physically felt was an hour of maybe tossing and turning was actually 3 hours, and I was obviously sleeping in between it.
Yeah. And that goes to other stuff. Well, I've got books on the brain too. People, there's a lot of strange experiences in dreams. And one of them is, we don't question the complete impossibility of things. We're flying and it doesn't wake us up. And we're like, of course I'm flying. Why wouldn't I? Our mind doesn't recognize the fantastic or impossible. It just rolls with it because for whatever reason, for many reasons. the other thing, I want to lose myself too. Oh shit! What were you just saying?
The time frames. I was looking at
the rapidity of dreams was one of the chapters. Thank you. Bring me back to focus. Dreams can feel like we've been in an ancient land for centuries, and that's the sensation of this grindingly slow passage of time that just lasts forever. Or they can take hours of the night, and our experience of it is it was 10 seconds. That's what I came up with, this feeling of the passage of time, completely variable. So I was kind of having my own experience of that. Let's say last night, and talk about synchronicity. So you're talking about this I had difficulty sleeping last night. I lay in bed for what ended up being 1 hour. I swear I would have thought it was 5 minutes, but I couldn't get comfortable. So I actually had to get up and walk around. And that's another thing. If you can't sleep, sometimes warm milk and cookie, for whatever reason, maybe not even the warm milk and cookie does it. It's just getting out of bed to go do something for 5 minutes.
Do something different.
Stretch your legs.
Yeah.
Clear your mind, really kind of reset your body too for getting back into bed and saying, maybe I wasn't comfortable in that position. I'll try something else. So my own experience, and there's something to do with, what is it? They say time flies when you're having fun. When you're really engaged with something, no idea of the passage of time because you're not clock watching.
Yes.
Yeah, that concept of, God, this feels excruciatingly slow because I just want it over. And sometimes that can happen. So you had this whole experience that felt, by your own calculations, it felt 1/3 as long as it really was. So there was this frequent, a recurrence of losing awareness of time. And that might have been when you were kind of dipping down into the sleep side of things. And there's this, I posted to Twitter the other day, no one can remember the precise moment they fell asleep. There's something about that process of, and there were lots of dreaming theories. And one of them was, why do we sleep at all and what causes it? And they this one guy, I think it was Henry Bergson, I might be getting that wrong, philosopher in the 1800s, I think, early 1900s. He had a distractedness theory. So, and there's very, very interesting examples he would give. He'd say, a mother hyper attuned to the cries of her infant can be in the deepest sleep, where you could poke her with a pin and she's not going to wake up. Her baby cries, she's on her toes. And so what is it about it feels like our external senses are completely turned off because we are disinterested, he would say, in those irrelevant things, and we let ourselves lapse into that. So there's very interesting, and you can see why people ended up at these suggested philosophically arrived at explanations of mechanism, whether they're trying to say, what is happening here? What does it look like? What does it seem like we're experiencing? I had to point to all that too. Distractedness. Oh, in the passage of time, it's all related in that total experience. We become distracted towards, and I had that experience too of our minds wander off on these. We start thinking about things that are not, my head is on the pillow, I'm breathing in and out. Those present awareness things fade away, and we almost go into daydreams first before we slip into night dreams. And that, to bring it all the way back around, no one remembers that moment because we have gone that self-distracted, the release of present attention has to happen. We've got to let go of it in some way. And so going to sleep with a busy mind, one of the things that keeps people awake, these present thoughts that we're focused on. So a lot of people use sleep music, or I listen to I like listening to the comedy channel, the stand-up comedy. Some of these bits I've heard 50 times. I can tell you how it ends. But it's great that I just need something to take me out of my head and focus on something in the environment to allow that distractedness to kind of kick in and be able to fall asleep. But back to you. Go ahead.
Oh, no. So what I actually did was, when you're talking about that, I went down and I actually grabbed a couple of Panadol and took some Panadol.
Okay.
Paracetamol, just to ease, because that's what I felt it was. I felt it was like my head wasn't turning off because the body wasn't allowing it to because of the pain.
Sure.
And when you explained it the way you did, I really did. I felt like I was just sitting there on that wave, going in and out of sleep and awake, sleep and awake, sleep and awake. And that's why it felt so bad. And I feel it was my physical body keeping me awake. I think my head would have gone, like I would have gone into a deep sleep. Took the Panadol, came back up, laid down for a little bit. Like you said, you changed your way of thinking, changed your way of looking. I basically went to sleep, and I hit that sack at 5 hours before I was up again, and it was great.
So after that experience, you were able to reset, reorient, whatever you had to do to break out of that experience you were having and start a new experience that was able to get into a restful sleep.
Sleep, yes,
okay.
Yes, yeah.
And I wonder, so we haven't gotten too much into the dream imagery. You were talking, the one thing you do remember, and as far as you can tell, this happened kind of first-ish, or was the first dipping out or coming back out of it was having worked. Were there other instances of that, or what happened next? Like if we tried to put it in a chronology, the first dream you remember having was working. Was there
it was all
phase?
work. It was all work. It was almost like I had that dream, and then I've woken up and I've remembered that because and then I've gone back in, and it's almost like I've done exactly the same, then remembered that. So each little section was a dream about work, a different area about work, but a dream about work.
Interesting. So if we tried to put this together in a little bit of a chronology, you had this first dream experience, quasi-lucid dream-ish, where you almost immediately popped back out of it and realized you had been dreaming about work. And in that setting, your focus, your attention, your thoughts, your kind of, you had to say word pictures, were of being in your typical workspace, like where you are right now. This is your office. Okay. Yeah. Also my office. This is, so if I were to dream about doing this is where I'd be doing it.
Yes.
Right. And you were performing typical tasks. Like there was nothing out of the ordinary about it. This is what you would be doing awake. It was kind of a, maybe not quite a one-to-one correlation, but it didn't strike you as I'm sitting at this desk, but I'm doing something completely irrelevant.
No, it was definitely doing it. But what was weird, the part that was weird was that I was very, very bitty. It's like, and I'm usually quite structured. I'm usually, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing this today. Okay. This is what I'm doing this now. But it was like bit here, bit there. You try and do this, try and do that. And funnily enough, that has been the rest of my week. Exactly like that. Really bitty. And it's like, I just can't. And that's why I was late for the podcast, because I had put my head into something and then went, oh, shit, time.
Got a thing to do. Yeah. That's interesting. So your experience of it was actually unpleasant. If we were to look for why would that dream experience be unpleasant enough to want you to leave it, might be you're dreaming about being disorganized, and that is perhaps unacceptable to you as I would not allow that to continue if I were awake. I would do something about it. So I'm not going to let it continue in my sleep. So that might have combination that might have popped you out of it saying, no, I'm not like that. I'm not going to do that.
That's annoying me.
Yeah.
So I was getting annoyed physically and I was getting annoyed mentally, if that's possible. Yeah.
For sure. And so you kind of, for whatever reason or other, physically or mentally, maybe both, brought you out of that rest, and you became aware of your physical sensations, and you reoriented, but you were also at that moment having reflecting on the dream and saying to yourself at that time, I don't want to even dream about work at all, let alone being disorganized at work, which is in some ways for some of us, that's a nightmare in and of its own. Like, I'm disorganized enough. If I was any worse, let me tell you, couldn't get anything done. But what did you choose to try to refocus yourself on? When you said, I don't want to think about work, I'd rather think about
I guess I got to the stage where it was about work, but it was about my paid work, not my passion work. And that's when I started to go, well, if I've got to think about work, if there's something there that, and this is because this is my intuition kicking in as well. It's if there's messages you're trying to give me, I want it to be about my passion work, not my work. So it was like, that's where I sort of went, well, if I've got to be awake and if I've got to do this, or if I've got to be thinking this, or I've got to be dreaming this, make it something that I want.
If I'm going to dream about work, I might as well just get up and go do it. What am I? Right? No, I've had that experience too. Where actually I've had.
But you're so tired, you can't get out of bed.
It's true. Like I can't. We can't even focus or be effective either. Too. It's like I need rest. I can't concentrate. But that is interesting too. So it was even the experience of the kind of work you'd maybe rather not be doing, and that might tie in with the disorganized thing too. So there's a Freudian conception of, say, wish dreams. And again, I'm getting into I'm not advocating any of these positions, but I love the review. So going back to there, he would say all dreams contain a wish of some kind. So if your wish was not to be doing the paid work because you'd rather be doing the passion work, the dream symbolism could have been constructed in such a way where your defense towards that was to say, monkey wrench it by depicting your efforts as disorganized to make yourself want to leave that experience. Just an interesting possible conception of what the mental process could have been during that thing. What exactly would it have been that had pulled you out of sleep to get you back there? And then so you reoriented your mind towards more of your passion work. What was it? What were your waking thoughts at that time? What did you reorient to when you thought about your passion work? Which aspect of it, or what unfinished project you were in the middle of? If you can say, I don't know, spoiler alert for your forthcoming stuff. Yeah.
I do remember getting angry, getting annoyed that's where I was going. Like work was where I was going. And I remember trying to think of what can I do in my side of it, but I couldn't concrete anything in my side. Like there was nothing there that I could concrete at this stage. There was no, like you said, not even halfway through a task or creating something stunning. There was nothing there for me to focus on. Another point of frustration, because then my head went straight back to work.
So you came out of a paid work dream-ish into the annoyance of having had that on your mind and said, let me think about something that's more pleasant to me, that's more inspiring, that I would care about more or not wish to push away in that kind of negative sense. And then you went back into another dream segment that was, how was it different from the first one?
Well, I guess what I was trying to do was, I felt like it was my head going around. I was thinking these things. So it was like, okay, if you're going to think about something positive, change your thought pattern. And when you fall off to sleep, it's going to be a positive thing that's happening, roses and sunshine. So let's go that way. So I tried to do that. I can't even remember what I was thinking about. I honestly can't.
Fair
because
enough.
I felt like
you
I
remember
went back.
Or you don't, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I went back into sleep mode very quickly after turning back into sleep mode, straight back into work mode.
Now, were you doing anything
different
that's right, in that second iteration of the paid work dream? Because there may have been, what I'm thinking is there's probably something about your paid work that you're trying to sort through in your mind. And so your brain's giving you these involuntary representations of what you're actually thinking about. It's like your mind really does want to solve a problem related to your paid work. So it keeps bringing you back to that idea to solve it, whatever it is. So, and it did, yes. You pulled yourself out of it. Damn it, I don't even want to think about that. And then your brain said, just have another look. Just one more time.
Bad brain.
Yeah. Or it may have been the same type of things you were doing. Was it right back into a feeling of things being bitty, disorganized?
Yeah, again? It was right back into that. now that you've said that, it's giving me a lot more understanding. It went right back into the same sort of work and everything else. And the funny thing is, this is where the aha moments just come through. I have been building my business so I don't have to go to work anymore. My business will support me. So I'm at this level at the moment where it's not quite transitional, but I'm really struggling with work. I used to get up, I'd get up in the morning and go, okay, I'm going to do this, And I was really, really switched on. I work from home, so I could, get hours done. I'd work 10 or 12 hours at work because I could, and I was enjoying it. Now I'm struggling to do 3 to 5 hours. And it is all sort of starting to come to a head where the owners of the business have lost interest in the business, and I've been propping it up, and I've lost interest in it now. Yeah. So I feel like it's, if we're going along those paths, I feel like it's the intuition, the head, the dream saying, this is the work you're doing. Is that really where you want to be? I'm going to keep on putting it in you. This is where you want to be. And it's like, ew, get away. I don't want to be here.
Yeah. And it's all connected too. So that idea of being in the dream and having the annoyance of the disorganization. And sometimes, so there's two sides of the coin to disorganization. One is we have trouble focusing on things we just don't want to do. And that's where we get, say, if you're a parent and the kid, you'll remember to go skating with your friends, but you didn't scoop the dog poop because you didn't want to. So we forget the things we don't want to do, and that can lead to being the general appearance of being disorganized. So that's one side of things is disinterest in the task leads to we half-ass it, or God, we're giving it our best, but man, it's a struggle to stay focused. That was me in school. Struggle to stay focused. The teacher just did, right? But the other side of it is, and this leans into, say, your passion business with the trusting your intuitive side. It's lack of know-how. It's like you can be disorganized because you don't care, which in a non-judgmental sense, we don't care about everything. We do things we don't care about all the time because it has to get done. The other side is I don't know how. I'm disorganized because I don't have a process. I'm disorganized because the pile's too big and I don't know how to sort it out. So there can be two things there. And then you get both of those things happening at the same time. I don't want to do this. And God, it's an awful mess in here. And I don't even know where to start. And then that is a recipe for frustration that would probably come out in your dreams too. That might be telling you as well. I had a flash of intuition, and you tell me if this resonates, but you don't know how to fix what's wrong with the current situation with them. Their disinterest and your, it's like you can't solve their problem for them. Is that making sense? Am I onto something?
Absolutely. There? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I can't make them interested if they're not interested. And because I'm in this transitional period where I'm moving into my own business, but it's not supporting me yet, it's like I've got to hold on to this. I've got to hold on to that, but it's hard to hold on to something that I had a lot of passion for, even though it wasn't my business. But the owners don't seem to have any passion left for it.
And that's really tough too. And that's probably, I mean, if we were to just bottom line the whole thing, that might be your whole dream experience here, is this one conundrum of you're going through something that you wish you weren't, and reasonably so, both the bodily pain during the actual sleep experience, but also this reflecting on the nature of work itself, the effort you have to put into it, the inspiration you feel towards it. Because we were talking about the muses. I don't remember did we do that on camera or off? I don't even remember. But the idea that this inspiration comes from outside, and it's if it doesn't come, how do you manufacture it? I mean, that's something an artist struggles with all the time. Is like, can I just manufacture a next top 40 hit out of my brain because I have the ability to do so, or do I have to wait until I have a horrible breakup and Taylor Swift writes another album or another hit song? Sometimes you got to go through experiences to have something to say.
Yes.
I was going somewhere with all that. Back to you.
No, what you're saying, Benjamin, really does make sense, because the situation that we've got with the work, it's that I don't dislike the work. I actually don't mind the work at all. But it's really hard to stay passionate with somebody when they're not sort of following it through. And I've sort of got a bit disheartened with it. Oh, the other aspect too was that it was a financial situation too. I was being underpaid, and they were bringing in other staff that were being overpaid, and I was doing more and had more quals and everything else. So there was that dis-ease again too, with as far as my self-worth, and a lot of it is about my self-worth. So I get that.
Not to pry, did that get resolved a little bit, or did you speak up for yourself and say, hey, you want to pay me the same or more?
I am actually this weekend going to write an email and request a pay rise, yes.
Okay, that might have been part of this process too. I mean, so far we've gone through 2 brief experiences of fading in and out of dream consciousness. So the first time, this now that you've had a moment to process, let it percolate, differences in that second snippet of dream experience, a different approach, a different specific aspect of a project you were working on?
I don't feel it was different. No, I don't feel it was different. It was almost like when I think back, and again, this might be intuition, but it was almost like you didn't get it the first time, here, have it again.
That might be. That's what I was thinking as well, was like, if there's no difference, then your brain wanted to say, look at the same messaging, even the same form. There are
you haven't learned yet. You haven't got the understanding. Here it is again. So, and I think I got it about 3 or 4 times that afternoon. Oh, sorry, that evening.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. Is I wasn't going to ask for how many total until we got there, but there was a third and maybe even a fourth kind of iteration of this over that roughly 3-hour period that kind of felt like an hour because you were in and out of consciousness. And as far as you can recall, third time, fourth time, exactly the same imagery, same experience, same frustration?
I can't tell you if it was the same imagery. I can't tell you if it's the same experience. It produced the same feelings. Yeah, definitely produced the same feelings. Oh, for goodness sake, will you just stop it?
Did the intensity or the thoughts connected to those feelings change in any way? Like your reaction to the experience?
I got more and more annoyed.
More and more annoyed. Because
it felt, like I said, it felt like it was all freaking night, but it wasn't.
Yeah. And in some ways, it's like, how do you get mad at yourself for rubbing your own face in it? Well, you do, but man, who do you blame? What's me?
And funnily enough, that's exactly how I felt. It's my own fault. I'm the one who's, going through all this. I've got to stop. And that's when I went up. I thought, well, okay, I can control the pain a little bit if I go and have a Panadol. That'll make the body relax, the physical side of things relax. And then hopefully that'll turn sort of the head off a little bit more, because I do think I do believe, like you said, the disruptors were a bit of both.
Yeah,
it
sure sounds
wasn't,
like it. Yeah.
It wasn't the physical body; it was the thoughts or the dream, and it was going on and on like that. Because I have had dreams before where I have deliberately woken myself up. I've been in a dream, and I don't even know whether they were scary. They might have been scary, but yes, they were scary.
That'll do it.
I have deliberately woken myself up, and I've done it probably twice in the last 6 months, where okay, how can I get myself out of this? I've got to scream. And I'd be screaming. There was no sound, nothing coming out. And I would go and go again until I get this, and my partner would say, you okay? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you're tossing and turning, you must be dreaming. I went, yeah, I was trying to wake myself up. I'm trying to call out to him, like I'm trying to be vocal. And I sort of really struggle with that. And then all of a sudden I make this grunty noise and I wake myself up.
Yeah.
So I have learned to do that.
That's a fascinating aspect too, of like, we're in these experiences. And again, this is where I go back to, I don't know what to do with lucid dreaming. You are aware you are dreaming, so you do things intentionally. You have this awareness, this recall after waking up that I knew it was a dream. And so I decided to go flying. Why not? If I could program flying dreams, that's, people would say, would you rather be invisible or power of flight? flying. I'd come reincarnate as a bird. I love it. I love it so much. I love some of these online games where you can fly over virtual landscapes and whatnot. I played Flight Simulator back in the early '90s, just to fly a plane. It's good stuff.
You're living the dreams.
Right? Oh, yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. I mean, this is way off on a tangent, but a lot of people looked at, okay, so the movie The Matrix, horrifying. Machines got us in pods. That's not great. But if I could actually plug in to something like that and have these physical sensations of being super strong and flying, I would probably do that. I don't know if I would want things installed, but I would enjoy the experience. I love playing video games, but if I could actually feel the game in real, like as if it were real, we're going to get, I think, way off sci-fi land here, but I think we're going to get to a point, and I think Elon Musk is working on it right now, this whole idea of the brain interface type of stuff, because as soon as we know how to externally communicate through our skull with our neurons and read them and talk to them, we'll be able to have those kind of experiences. It's a fascinating thing about, say, dreams and even hallucinations, and this is in books too. It's like they used to call them spectral illusions, like I've seen a ghost. People have once upon a time had the experience of speaking to someone in the room that no one else can see. What is this? Is it demons? Is it ghosts and whatnot? So they were specters, spectral illusions, what we now call hallucinations. And what they didn't know then, and we've been able to prove now with functional MRI testing, where they can like live observe brain activity as it's happening. They would take a schizophrenic person diagnosed and functional MRI their brain while they are hearing voices that no one else can hear. And we see the same auditory processing centers of the brain lighting up on their own as if they are receiving stimulus from the outside. It's just not coming from a physical vibration of the air hitting the eardrum. It's not traveling down the auditory nerve. It's all happening in that encapsulated. Now, we don't know why yet, and we don't know how to fix it, but we're able to say this is what's happening. So when someone says, I'm seeing things you can't see, they do. They literally do. It's not made up. They're not being difficult. Their brain is telling them there is an object there, and they don't know why you can't see it. And all we know is that certain drugs seem to decrease that experience. Let's go in someplace with same thing happens in dreaming. Those areas of the brain light up, and they're showing us these images. It's as if we are hearing sounds and seeing visions and tasting things. It's just disconnected from the external. So there's this weird, wonderful correlation between, say, hallucinating and dreaming. It's in a lot of ways the same thing, not identical, but very close. That's where I was going with that. I love it. It's so fascinating.
It
really is. That's why I'm fascinated by it too, and I love sharing it. I thank you for listening. I hope people out there find it interesting when I go on my little rants. Let me tell you some things. I was going to tell you too. So you were having that experience in a way. There was a point to all that, but this fading in and out of present awareness into your thoughts about it. And what I wanted to try to do for you was see if any of the imagery in the dream. We seem to have nailed down the broad area. If we were to say drawing a map, we've got the region. It's over here-ish. This is what we're looking at. Maybe there's some kind of a landmarks that show you a path, and not a destiny style path of you will walk here, prophetic style, but that your brain might be, through some of the imagery in each of these episodes that repeated, showing you what you think might be a good solution. And I don't know. Now, you had mentioned that you had come to a decision about speaking up for yourself, self-worth, and saying I am more valuable than this, and I believe I'm not being treated fairly relative to other people. Did this dream experience we're talking about happen before or after that?
The dream experience happened before. So I've been thinking about it and everything else. Then I've had this dream experience, and then within the next day or two, it was like, I'm gonna do something about it.
Okay. When you think about that, speaking up for yourself, and in the context of the dream? Any connection, any resonance there? It might be completely
When
unrelated.
I think about it, in that context, it's like I was doing so much. Like when I was employed to do this role 4 years ago, this was the role I was employed to do, and I ended up doing so many other things, all these other bits and pieces. I have got a very, very strong knowledge across the business as a whole. How to run Google Ads, how to, do all these different things. So I have a very, very strong picture of it. I am very organized and very structured, that I put a lot of systems in place and everything else. So I put all these systems in place, but they're more creative, or I'm still creative. They just run differently. We, obviously run differently, and they don't choose to use a lot of these systems, but they need to have the systems in order to sell the business when they're ready to sell it. And I came on board with the idea that we want to fix the business up because we do want to put it on the market. But we need to have all the standard operation procedures. We need to have all the systems in place. We need to have all this done. So I came on to help do that, and to do Google Ads and run the SEM. So I had this really, really broad knowledge across the board of this actual business. And yeah, I sort of felt like that I was, the more I did, the more I knew, the less they did, the less they knew. And I wasn't being rewarded for it. So all these feelings have been building up and building up. And I think I did mention that I had a couple of these types of dreams before. Majority of times they are about work. So, and it's, when I think about it, it is like a little catalyst every time. So I've had this build up, then this dream about it. And then it was like, no, I've had enough. I'm not going to be doing work during the day and work at night. And not being paid my work. So yeah, that's when I went, okay, that's it. I'm going to put in and ask for a pay rise. And if I don't get it, I'm just going to keep going, building up my business.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like there's a nice, almost one-to-one analog going on in the dream there of this, your actual experience with the business of coming in and having it be more disorganized than you were comfortable with. And
absolutely,
that there's good functional reasons why organization needed to be brought to the space, but then also there's the like some people can just work in a cluttered room and they know where everything is. It's in that pile. I know where it is. I'm not a pile guy. I got a shelf and I fold things. It's what I do. So I am in some ways, you were talking about creating systems. Like I am a jumble of stitched, patchwork systems that I put together to try and make my life functional. It's like if I didn't have a system, I would have to invent one. And that's what I've done repeatedly throughout my life, is naturally disorganized and distractible. If I didn't have a system, I wouldn't get anything done. So back to you, though. Enough about me. Let's hear you talk about me. Sorry, don't spit your water. Sorry.
Oh, don't do that when I'm just having a drink of water.
I know, don't joke. That's a horrible joke. I love it. But to say, maybe even in that moment of having this dream experience, you were doing a bit of historical reflecting as well. Remember what this was like when it was more disorganized. And in some ways, that is a representation both of that annoys me in general, and look at all the work I've done to negate this chaos, to bring order to the chaos in a functional way that was absolutely necessary. All of this might have been leading up to that moment where the pieces click for you and say, I am more valuable than I'm perceived. And sometimes we got to talk ourselves into that, because there's a lot of as I have that, I feel like if I say I'm good with the dream interpretation, I feel narcissistic and grandiose and self-aggrandizing and all of these things. And he thinks he's a wizard and whatnot. Well, I mean, that's why I mock it too. Like that self-deprecating thing. I'm just a guy, I do a thing. So I struggle with that myself too. Like, am I really good at this? Don't get a big head, but also don't undervalue yourself. You get a lot of folks that tell you they appreciate what you do. They watch the show, they like talking to you, whatever. So that's a very difficult thing for everyone too. What is a realistic self-appraisal of your value, and how do you advocate for that? And some of us are better at it than others. Some are more naturally lean into that side of I'm pretty damn good and I deserve it, and why not? Sometimes they go overboard.
I struggle with it.
And then and then there's the rest of us who are like, I think I'm okay. What do you think? Like, I feel it.
I sort of know how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to over promise and under deliver. Rather do it the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because when you sort of start getting to know people and all the people start to get to know you, they go, and you've done what? And you've done what?
Yeah.
And you sort of go, well, like you sort of feel a bit strange saying it, but they get quite surprised. But yes, definitely want to sort of keep that all down. Like when you were sort of going, the International Business Award winner. It's like, okay. Right.
I felt like you deserved to have me say it because it's absolutely true, and I also felt awful doing it to you because I could imagine someone singing my praises, and I'd be like, please stop, thank you, no, please.
I like it, but I don't like it. I like you to do it. I just don't like to hear it. Okay.
This is flattering and horribly uncomfortable. For sure. Well, it seems like it all fits together in that role. And sometimes we get to the end of these dream experiences where it's like we don't have an answer in that moment. We don't wake up from a dream always knowing what it means, and we don't always. And then there's a weird thing that happens too, where that dream might have been the direct reason you made the resolution to stand up for yourself, and it really doesn't even connect in your brain. Like sometimes there's it's unnecessary, maybe, or we don't want to see it for whatever reason. Like sometimes there's processes that go on where it's like you don't want to see how the hot dogs are made, but you love to eat them. That kind of a thing. Sometimes there's a making the hot dogs in the brain, and we're uncomfortable with the process, or we don't like the way we arrived at our decisions, but we're certain about them. And in our waking mind, we've got enough good reason to proceed. And sometimes these dream experiences can feed into it. What you were saying about recurring dreams is another fascinating thing I've found. So sometimes we have literally, as you've done, this is more rare, but the idea of the same recurring dream in one night, that's more rare in my experience. And even in documentation, I think. But the idea of a recurring dream coming back over multiple nights or years, people find more understandable than multiple of the same dream in one night. And the reason very often is that we're not ready to understand what it's trying to say, or we can't wrap our understanding around the message itself. We're not really sure what it is, so we keep looking at it from different angles, or the same angle. And I think I mentioned this last episode, but I had a fellow who's a combat vet, and he had recurring dreams, and it was after talking to me and exploring it from just having a conversation about it, that he was able to, that the nature of that dream changed. And hopefully that's what'll happen eventually. That would be maybe the primary reason that recurrent dreams stop. They come back because you need to learn something, you learn it, they go away. Hopefully. So it might have even been that whatever message you needed to tell yourself during that experience, you got it enough on a subconscious level that you were able to then finally roll over and go to sleep. But also getting out of bed, getting a pain pill, stretching your legs for a minute, getting a glass of water. All of that seemed to help. Yeah,
absolutely. Wow, that's really interesting. And the other aspect is just discussing it with you. You sort of go, oh, okay, well that makes sense. But I have done a bit of dream analysis, and I can do it for my partner. Like he'll say, oh, I had a dream about this, and I can go, oh, it could be this, and this, and it's really, really easy. But when you start looking at your own, you go, I remember waking up thinking, God, toss and turn and I kept on thinking about work, and I was dreaming about work, and I remember saying that, but I didn't analyze it. I didn't look into it. Yet I do it for other people, but I didn't do it for myself. And it was almost like, well, I'd had an email from you saying, do you want to do a dream analysis? Didn't have any dreams. Then I had this great big one. It was like, oh, okay. Straight away I went, oh, good, that'll be for Benjamin. I'm going to have that one for him.
Those are wonderful synchronicities. I love it. And who knows why? I talk to people, speaking of emails and whatnot, but I've got several folks out there. It's like, I love the idea. I watched some of your things. I love it. No dreams currently. Nothing to share with you. I'm like, no worries. Can't rush nature. Things happen in their own time. When a dream comes to you, let me know. I'll be here. And there's been quite a few folks who are like, I didn't have one to share until after a week after we spoke, and now suddenly, let's do the thing. I got one for you. Finally.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's exactly how I felt. It's like,
we've
got one.
And there's another guy I'm going to talk to soon who was, I think a professional hypnotist, and he was going to help walk me through some ideas for trying to program my dreams. So I have the experience of people probably get sick of hearing me say this over and over again, but I just don't remember my dreams. Very rarely do I remember I had a dream. Nothing but images, sensations, so disconnected and so vague that I can't even put them into words.
Yes.
If I had to describe a dream or the image I remember, it'd be like, there was a car, I closed the door, that was it. That's all I got. I couldn't tell you that. Where was I going? Where was I at? What color was the car? Was there anyone in the car? What type of car was it? I got nothing. Just this vague impression. Eating my own beard. There we go.
Having dinner later.
I know you don't have to experience that. That's
no,
right? So I'm always very appreciative, and that's why I wanted to help gently tug at some of this stuff and get what I could from you. And I feel terrible sometimes putting people on the spot. Tell me what you saw, and they're like, I don't really know. I'm like, well, what do you got? Anything? Somewhere to start, and then we just start teasing it, and things start to unravel a little bit.
I love it, and there's such a good aha moments, and it starts to really make sense to me, and I love it. But I'm a bit of a bugger for that too, though, Benjamin. I honestly believe, because of intuition and everything else, I honestly believe we get these messages, we get this understanding, we get this synchronicity for a reason. And that's, there's a reason behind it all. So if I have a dream or something happens, it's like, well, why? Why was it that me and my partner are in the car, the radio's going, I hear something and he doesn't? Why? And you start to go, well, there's got to be something. I needed to hear that. He didn't. Or he'll say, oh, did you see that? And I'll go, no, he needed to see that. I didn't. And there's a reason behind it. And that's why when I sort of, got up that next morning and it was like so annoying that I'd, done all this dreaming, I still didn't look at analysing it or look into it. To me, it was just, it's just a work dream. It's not until you have teased it, like you said, and pulled it apart, and then it's like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. That's so logical. I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think it very much is too, and I think there's something to say about the concept of where, and we spoke about this, I think, off air a little bit beforehand, but what I do is mostly intuitive. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I do any of this. I'm getting inspiration from the muses, lightning bolt from the heavens, whatever. Some people I don't really believe I'm talking to God, but that's as good an explanation for where an idea comes from as anywhere else. It feels supernatural, as we were saying, the experience of it. Had a point to all that. Oh, intuition. Sorry, bringing it back to what you do is sometimes it's, and I don't know if you can tell me if this is your understanding. My understanding of intuition is like it's pattern recognition that we can't understand fully. It gives us an answer without it's like the answer to a math problem without showing your work. That's kind of how I conceptualize intuition, and dreams being the same way. They're showing you the answer, but you don't know how you got there, or you don't know what it means because you're not seeing the work. But I don't know if you have thoughts on that. The nature of intuition.
Well, how I look at intuition is we have two bodies. We have a physical body and a spiritual body, so a spiritual energy type thing. And the spiritual energy is that everlasting one. It's connected to, as you say, God or the muses or wherever. It's connected spiritually to the spiritual side, and the physical body is connected to the physical side. how the spirit communicates and how the physical body, because the physical body's got 5 senses, how it communicates, they're very, very different. So I call intuition the communication between the spirit and the physical. And that's how I look at it. And when I sort of go, those intuitive messages or the intuition that you're receiving, we can receive it visually, we can receive it through thoughts, we can receive it through all different aspects, these different aspects. And one of the visuals is like through dreams, through images, through seeing things. Like when you see 1111 all the time, what does that mean? When you see 444, what does that mean? Because all these have got meanings and understandings, it's the spiritual messages you're getting or intuitive messages you're getting constantly bombarding you, and you are not aware of it. And like I said, why is it my partner sees something I don't see, and we're going along in the same car, or I hear something and he doesn't? And it's because my spirit is tuned in and wants to absorb that, and it's sort of saying to the physical senses, listen to that, or look at this.
Yeah.
So that's how I've sort of broken it right down, and I don't understand it all 100%, but if we're getting like what I call psychic information, is coming from another spirit to your physical body. If we're getting direct source, which God, for another word of it,
right,
it's coming straight into your spirit, and that goes to your physical aspect. So I call intuition our communication.
Very cool. Of course, my leaning to, and I may have mentioned this before, is like I don't know what to do with the supernatural side of things. I accept it for what it appears to be, and I lean very heavily into the rational skeptic. I'm looking for mechanical causes very often. Nothing wrong with either approach. If it works, proof's in the pudding. But so that's why I leaned into the idea of the pattern recognition, and I think they overlap very well. I mean, we could call our pattern recognition abilities supernatural in some ways, because we don't even know where that comes from. I mean, sure, it's in our brain, it's in our biology, but where did that come from? And you go back far enough, and you got what they call the God of the gaps. It's like, well, we don't know, but it's there, and it's absolutely real, and it gives us ideas, gives us images, it directs our attention, it gives us these. Whenever I think intuition, I think gut feeling. It's something visceral about it. Like, there's another guy I follow on Twitter recently, and he talks about people in the personality disordered sphere giving off a certain. He doesn't use these words, but you can get a gut feeling when you know you're dealing with like a predatory type of person.
Yes.
And there's something you can call it a spiritual message from God warning you of evil influence. You can call it a pattern recognition of, this feels like other bad situations I've been in. I don't like this. I don't know why, but there's a lot of people that don't trust their gut as much as they could and maybe should in some ways. And that's
especially with that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's like, I would say, if you don't feel comfortable somewhere, you don't like what you're doing, you feel threatened, get out. That would be my professional advice for what it's worth. But
if you took that one step back and you go, okay, in exactly that situation where you're feeling uncomfortable for some reason, what if you were a 2-year-old and you were still feeling uncomfortable? Where would that information be coming from? Because as a physical 2-year-old, you've never felt that before. But as a spiritual 2-year-old, spiritual being inside that 2-year-old, you would be picking that up.
Yeah. I wish I could go far enough back. I think I have some memories of being 5. 5 years old is probably my oldest living memory, so to speak. But we do have these innate ability to trigger sensations. It's definitely in our biology, and they do happen maybe long before we can understand it or explain it or even describe it to somebody else. There's a feeling happening. That's fascinating too, which leads, kind of circles back around or incorporates some of the Freudian stuff, where he got a lot of unfairly maligned, I say, for his assertions that a lot of things went back to childhood experiences. They do. Maybe not everything, and sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but It is our lifetime full of experiences. It makes us who we are, and some of these
Yep.
patterns repeat, and sometimes it's that repetition of life patterns as well that gives us premonitions, intuitions, pattern recognition in the present of saying, this is happening again. What do you want to do about it? And then, of course, we also have to say, just because you're uncomfortable about something doesn't mean it's necessarily bad for you. There's a lot of things that are good for you that might make you a little uncomfortable for different reasons. Work that out. Absolutely. To your own, caveat emptor, as we were saying earlier. Be careful with yourself and understand. That's why I like talking to you about this idea of intuition too, is because a lot of people, again, I don't remember if I said this on camera or off, but a lot of people don't trust their intuition because they don't know how to make sense of it. They're not sure what they're feeling or why, and they don't know how to respond to it. So just giving people a little bit more understanding of what it is, how it works, to the best of our understanding and explanation, that can give people a lot more confidence to act on it.
Absolutely. And I think with my experiences that I've had through my life, the biggest understanding was my belief in having these two separate bodies. Because if I don't believe in that, then I can't believe that that's what the intuitive messages are. But the reason why I know I've had that is because I've actually I have left my body and have seen it. And that was a very traumatic experience when I've left the body, but it was, really quite surreal, very, very surreal.
Like
but
literally,
that's a whole new podcast.
For sure. And I don't know what to make of those things either. I mean, you could offer a rationalist explanation of, well, you imagined you did, or you could say, no, you really did. And hell if I know. I'm not gonna say either way. Yep.
Yeah.
Or near death experiences.
And that's what it can be. But you've got to have an understanding and a faith in yourself, I think, and again, trust in yourself. And with the three experiences where I've left my body, they're so different and so surreal that it couldn't have been a dream or hallucination, or it couldn't be, because I was so completely different. So but anyway, that's a very
commonly reported thing too, of people saying dreams feel a certain way. I know when I had a dream and this felt completely different. This was something else. Yes. What it is, I don't know, but I take their word for it. I'm like, what your sensations you're experiencing are. If it didn't feel like one thing, it felt like something else. We don't have to know what that thing is, but we can tell it's different in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you could come to your own conclusions. Yeah. So it's really, it's amazing. It's just, and there's being on, with my podcast, talking to so many different people, it's, it's really good. I love it. I love that the dreams are giving us that subconscious image too, to help us get through some things.
Yeah, they end up very often being some kind of encapsulated thought process or expression of a particular idea. And we don't even understand necessarily our waking thought processes. We know we seem to have some ability to direct them a bit, but tangents and different. Why do we choose to focus on one thing and not another? Sometimes it's a complete mystery. But what's happening in our sleep is, and that's, I wanted to come back to your dream just before we wrapped everything up, and we were looking at the landscape in general and the landmarks ish in specific, and a path through. Like, what do you feel like the answer we got, that this was encouraging you to speak up about the effort you've put forward to bring useful organization, is the most likely explanation? Or do you think there might have been some other exploration in there that was telling you to look at it from a particular angle? It all depends on you. Which feels like it makes more sense. There's more to understand.
I think the first one definitely. I don't know whether I need to look at it from a different angle, because I have looked at it from lots of angles. Yeah. But it is more about just standing in my power. Like, if that's what you want to do, if you want to keep working and working and working and working and not sort of be mindful of your self-worth, that's what you're going to get. It was almost like that. This is what life's about. If this is what you want, you have the ability to change it if you choose to. And that's, I suppose, what I got out of it, and that's where I have 100% intentions of doing.
Yeah, and that's what I tell folks when we're talking here is like, I'm not going to be able to give you an answer. I can hold your hand as we walk to an answer together, in a way, is kind of what I'm doing, this collaborative building process. I don't know what it's going to look like when we're done, but we're making something together. And then I think I had just one person that had no aha moments. As you described it, I couldn't give him anything. I couldn't find anything to connect with in him or his experience. This imagery was a complete mystery to both of us. But usually people go, wow, it makes sense. And my work is done. Like, I don't even know what happened. It just happened.
Yeah,
so it's not like I invented it. I did not actually tell you what it means. You told me. We just did it together. So.
You allow the space to discuss it, and you are giving questions, or you're putting out questions that make me think again and think it on a different level and think of it in a different way. So you allowed me to express it, and that's probably half the problem, is that we see these things and we do these things, but we don't go any further with it. You've given me those extra steps. And you have held my hand and led me down there. I think it's great. I love it. I want to write the email now.
it was a very pleasant. We were like holding hands, swinging and skipping, and follow the yellow brick road.
Right, now your intuition's kicking in.
Right through the field of poppies. Well, if you feel like you got a good answer, I've kept you almost an hour and a half here. We gotta. I'm satisfied, but it always depends on if the dreamer is. Yes. One episode I did, I think it was 45 minutes. One I went 3.5 hours over 2 days because he wanted to keep talking. Hey, I'll do it. That's fine, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. Okay, well then I will say to everybody listening, this has been Susan Jane, the I'm going to do it to you again. Multi-International Business Award winner, most innovative communication professional of the year. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. But apparently well deserved. The people who gave you the award believed you deserved it. So I believe them. It is the book Intuitive Flowers and the business, The Art of Intuition, with classes and whatnot. And you can find it at intuitivenature.com.au, and that link will be in the description below. Susan, thank you for being here. That's been a fascinating conversation for me.
Yeah, thank you. I loved it. Thank you for your help. I'm going to go and write that email now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And just to, if you'll hang out 2 seconds after, I'm going to do the housekeeping. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. I always need more volunteer dreamers. 11 currently available books of historical dream literature, working on simultaneous audiobook and physical book release for book number 12. Already working on book number 13, 5 or 6 more coming. Get a t-shirt, get a coffee mug, do all those happy things, and keep me in business here so I can keep interpreting dreams. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye.